There's a certain kind of man you meet only once on television. A man whose smile seems to warm the whole studio, whose laugh feels like a morning cup of coffee, and whose energy, somehow, manages to feel both calm and electric at the same time. That man is Ben Shephard, television's golden boy, the kind-hearted presenter who could probably charm a traffic cone if given enough time. The man who never forgets a name, never misses a joke, and somehow still finds the energy to be effortlessly polite before sunrise. But lately, something has changed, and the people closest to him, especially the woman who knows him best, have begun to notice. For weeks, fans have been whispering online, wondering if the cheerful spark in Ben's eyes has dimmed just a little. Some said he looked unusually quiet. Others spotted brief pauses, gentle sighs, or smiles that didn't quite reach the way they used to. And then came the rumors, the speculation, the endless "is he okay" comments. But behind the scenes, something much more tender has been unfolding. Not a scandal, not a secret illness, but the very human struggle of a man who simply gives too much of himself, and a wife who loves him too much to watch in silence. Because if Ben Shephard is the son, then Annie, his wife of more than 2 decades, is the gentle universe that keeps him steady. The woman who met him when they were young, laughed with him through the chaos of life, and built a quiet, beautiful world away from the cameras. The kind of partner who doesn't need grand speeches to know something is wrong. She can see it in a single exhale. Those close to them say Annie has always been his grounding force, the one who reminds him to breathe, to rest, to stop trying to carry the entire television industry on his shoulders. But with Ben's new responsibilities, the early mornings, the long commutes, the pressure of proving himself all over again, those reminders have become harder for him to follow. And that's when the cracks began to show. The late-night headaches he insisted were nothing. The mornings where coffee wasn't enough to lift the fatigue. The quiet moments between filming where he'd rub his temples, take a deep breath, and push forward anyway. Because that's what Ben Shephard does. He pushes through. He smiles through. He soldiers on. But Annie saw the truth. And one evening when Ben came home more silent than usual, exhausted down to his bones, something in her finally broke. She became emotional, not out of fear of something terrible, but out of love. Deep, overwhelming love for the man who keeps giving and giving without asking anything in return. Friends say she told them she felt powerless, watching him stretch himself so thin, refusing to slow down even when his body begged him to. She wasn't frightened, she was heartbroken. Heartbroken that the man who brings joy to millions was quietly forgetting to bring joy to himself. Meanwhile, viewers kept sending sweet messages online. He looks tired. He seems drained. I hope Ben is taking care of himself. But in classic Ben fashion, he refused to step back. No dramatic break, no grand announcement, just determination, grit, and the same charming smile that made everyone fall in love with him in the first place. Still, Annie gently urged him to reconsider, to take a breath, a pause, a moment. Because sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is rest. And maybe, just maybe, Ben is finally starting to see that too, not because the world demands it, but because the one person who has stood by his side for over 20 years is asking him to. This isn't a story of mystery or fear. It's the story of a devoted husband, an endlessly caring wife, and a love that still softens every rough edge of life, even after all these years. And as fans continue cheering him on, one thing remains certain. Whatever Ben chooses, whether he keeps going full speed or finally listens to Annie's gentle plea to slow down, viewers will stand behind him, just the way Annie always has. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't just love Ben Shephard the presenter. It loves Ben Shephard the human being, the husband, the father, The man who tries a little too hard because he cares a little too much. And honestly, isn't that exactly why everyone fell for him in the first place?